You wake up, you work, you rest, you repeat. You plan vacations, take photos, scroll for inspiration, tell yourself you're getting better. You build things. You chase status. You try to be a good person. But sometimes, even when you're doing everything right, there's a crack, a flicker of doubt. Is any of this actually real? Does it matter? You might feel guilty for asking. You might bury it under productivity, spirituality, or ambition. You might tell yourself you're just tired, just burnt out, just in need of a reset. But deep down, you know it's something else. It's not about exhaustion, it's about emptiness. It's about that moment when you realize you've been handed a script, a story you didn't write. Go to school, get a job, find love, make money, raise a family, grow old, try to stay happy, die. It's about that sick feeling when you see someone who has it all: the house, the looks, the wealth, the attention, and they still look lost behind their eyes. It's about the whisper in your head that says, maybe there is no big plan, maybe nothing means anything. And that terrifies people. Because if life is meaningless, then what have you been living for? What were the sacrifices for? What was all the pain, the effort, the pretending for? That's when people start looking for something to hold on to. Some turn to religion, not always because they believe, but because they need to. Some chase legacy, the illusion that they'll matter more if their name echoes after death. Some numb themselves with entertainment, drugs, social validation, whatever kills the silence. Because silence is dangerous. In silence, the question grows louder. If nothing matters, then what do I do with that? The fear of meaninglessness isn't just fear of death. It's the fear that we live for nothing, that we suffered for nothing, that none of it, not the victories, not the failures, not even the love, meant anything beyond what we imagined. But here's the twist most people never see. Meaninglessness isn't the end. It's the beginning. And we'll get there. But first, we have to stare into the abyss without flinching. We have to admit that maybe, just maybe, there's no map, no cosmic scoreboard, no right answer waiting at the end. Just this life, this body, this breath. And the question you've been running from: if nothing is given meaning, can I give it meaning myself? If life truly has no meaning, then why does that feel like such a loss? Maybe because we've been told since childhood that meaning is something to be discovered, like buried treasure, that it lies somewhere out there, waiting for us, in a job, in a relationship, in a calling, in a moment of spiritual revelation. And so we search, desperately, hungrily, blindly. We search in religion, hoping God will speak directly to us. We search in success, thinking that if we just earn enough, win enough, shine enough, it will finally feel like we matter. We search in others, clinging to the idea that love will complete what we feel we're missing. But if life has no pre-written purpose, then all those quests are chasing shadows. Here's the paradox. We fear meaninglessness because it feels like chaos. But what it actually gives us is freedom. Because if there is no cosmic blueprint, if there is no fate, if no higher power is keeping score, then no one is telling you who to be. No one is assigning value to your story but you. And that's terrifying. But it's also power. Think about it. If meaning were fixed, if it were handed to you like a birthright, then your path would already be decided. You'd be locked into someone else's idea of what matters. There'd be no freedom, no discovery, no article, no rebellion, no self. Meaninglessness rips that illusion away. It tears down the throne, burns the map, throws the script in the fire, and then it asks you the one question that actually matters. What will you do now that anything is possible? Because that's what meaninglessness is. Not a void, not a punishment, but a blank canvas. a space vast enough to create something of your own. It doesn't come with rules. It doesn't come with guarantees. It doesn't care what others think, but it's yours. Yours to shape, yours to fill, yours to change. You don't have to become someone important. You don't have to save the world. You don't have to follow a script. You get to choose what's worth your time. You get to choose who matters to you. You get to choose what you'll stand for, even if no one else understands it. And suddenly, the weight of meaning doesn't crush you anymore, because you're no longer carrying someone else's version of it. You're building your own. One moment, one choice, one breath at a time. If nothing matters by default, then you're free to decide what does. That's the part people miss when they flirt with nihilism. They stop at the emptiness, at the collapse of the old beliefs, at the death of whatever meaning was handed to them by culture, family, or religion. They think that's the end of the road, but it's not. It's the first honest step forward. Because when the scaffolding falls apart, what's left isn't ruins. It's raw space, the kind of space you can build in. You get to create your own reasons, your own values, your own rules, not because you're rebelling and not because you're special, but because you're here. And that alone gives you the right to choose. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need the universe to approve. You don't need some divine permission slip to start living a life that makes sense to you. You can dedicate your life to a craft no one else understands. You can pour your heart into a relationship that doesn't fit the mold. You can spend years mastering something that brings you peace, even if the world calls it useless. Because what you choose to care about, that becomes your meaning, and it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. Some people find meaning in creating, others in serving, some in raising children, growing gardens, protecting nature, writing code, fixing engines, training their bodies, or simply learning how to sit quietly with themselves without needing more. That's the beauty of it. It's not about what's true for everyone. It's about what becomes true for you once you live it. There are no higher points for following tradition. There are no cosmic rewards for staying inside the lines. There's just you and the life you're shaping with every decision you make when no one's watching. And maybe that's what meaning really is. Not something you find in a book or a TED Talk, but something you feel after you've suffered for something real. After you've sacrificed, tried, failed, and kept showing up anyway. Not because you had to, but because something inside you said it was worth it. Not because it's objectively meaningful, but because it became meaningful through your own effort. And once that clicks, once you stop looking for the perfect purpose and start creating imperfect meaning, something shifts. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You stop waiting to be chosen. You stop performing, and you begin. You begin to build something that's not about applause or legacy or cosmic significance, but about the way it makes you feel when you do it. That's your meaning, not eternal, not universal, but yours, and that's enough. There's a moment after all the noise dies down, after you stop asking what your life is supposed to mean, where the silence finally starts to sound like possibility. At first, it's uncomfortable. No purpose, no cosmic plan, no grand scoreboard to keep track of whether you're doing it right. No one telling you if you're ahead or behind, winning or losing, just you, and the terrifying freedom to decide what matters. That's why people run back to comfort, back to structure, back to meaning they didn't choose, but can at least depend on. It's easier to be told what to believe than to stand alone and take responsibility for your own beliefs. It's easier to follow orders than to write your own code. Because if you choose your meaning, then you're responsible for it. You can't blame fate anymore. You can't say it was destiny. You can't fall back on it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be because you meant it. And that's heavy. But it's also the only kind of meaning that can't be taken from you. Because you built it. You bled for it. You didn't inherit it. You earned it. When life feels meaningless, most people try to escape. But the ones who stay, the ones who look straight into the void and don't blink, they come out the other side changed. Not because they found the answer, but because they stopped needing one. And in its place, they made something better. A life that doesn't ask for permission, a life that doesn't rely on applause, a life that feels like truth, even when it's quiet. You don't need to save the world. You don't need to become a genius or a saint or a billionaire. You just need to make something, something that matters to you. A conversation, a story, a garden, a morning run, a decision you didn't delay this time. Small things done with presence, chosen with intention. That's meaning. And no, it won't be written in history books. It won't be carved into monuments, but it will shape you into someone you respect when you're alone with your thoughts. And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. Not to live forever, not to be remembered, not to be important, but to be real while you're here. So is it bad that life is meaningless? Only if you're waiting for someone else to give you a reason. But if you're ready to write your own, if you're done waiting, if you're ready to stop searching and start choosing, then the meaninglessness of life might be the greatest gift you've ever been given. Because it means this: you are not here to fulfill a script. You are here to write one.